off. It's like, your next comic, give it up for Amy Shinner. And then I like started my set with like, hey, so my name is Jamie Schreiner, but I'm so Midwestern and so out of place.
Ooh.
Hey,
Oh, there we go. I see audio right there. Boom.
bada bing, bada
Okay,
boom.
awesome.
We're back, baby. Tuning in. Let's do it, baby. Let's rock and roll.
Boom.
Let's flip this shit. Let's do it. Oh yeah. Are we live?
And we're live.
We're live.
We're
Hello.
live.
Good to see you guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties. That's live entertainment, baby. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to be said, what's going to be seen, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you guys for tuning in to Hawk Wins Radio Picture Show. We are here every Wednesday at Q4 Radio in the beautiful Ukrainian Village neighborhood of Chicago. As always, my name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
Now, we're so excited to have you guys today. Today in the house, we have a great musician, comedian, entertainer of all aspects. Tonight, we have the very great Jamie Schreiner, which we're going to get to here in just a moment. So you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned. But how was your week, Jay? What's been new with you, pal?
Oh, wow. My week was pretty good,
Yeah.
I guess. Well, I had a lot of fun at that party we went to last week.
That's
that
right.
was pretty fun. Drank a lot of vampire blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we arguably had a little too much fun.
A little
with
too
a lot
much.
of vampire blood.
Too much whiskey.
With our good friend Jerry Gonzalez, a very good friend and filmmaker who we've had on the show before. Happy 30th birthday, Jerry. I think it's a cool thing to celebrate your 30s by giving your 20s a rest. You know, I think your 20s is time to mess around, to fuck up, and learn from it. You know what I mean? You can make a trip into a beautiful dance.
So we got to fuck around and find out in our 20s.
Basically.
What are we doing? Does it hurt to turn 30?
It hurts a lot, Jay. It hurts
Oh,
a lot.
fuck.
Gravity, hangovers, and heartache hit a lot harder when you get into your 30s and all the check engine lights start coming on. But wisdom's nice. Wisdom comes with age, and
wisdom.
you're like, I'm not going to touch that shit ever again. Sometimes it's nice.
I like the concept of giving your 20s a burial, a funeral.
Yeah.
You know? It's a cool concept.
What would you like to bury in your 20s?
What would I like to bury in my 20s? Being broke.
Amen to that, man. Yeah. Like I said, 30s comes wisdom, you know?
Do I automatically know about the stock market at 30?
No, that's a learned behavior. You got to read into it.
Damn.
I could teach you some shit, though. I know a thing or two. Not that much. I am not a financial advisor by any means.
My financial advice is don't waste money on alcohol too much.
That's a good one. Be economical. You know what I mean? Drink at home.
Got a pregame beforehand.
Pregame. Not too much pregame. You don't want to get too schwasty before you show up. But also, that's your 20s. You know what I mean? You probably should do that in your 20s.
Or if you pregame enough, you won't spend all that money at the bar because you won't make it there.
Truth. Or just smoke weed and not alcohol. That's what I've learned. That's definitely a good lesson I learned.
Oh, shit.
But no, man, it was a good party. It was a good time celebrating and hanging out with all the cast and crew of Hamster in My Head, which is set to premiere, I believe, later this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're still working on it. I didn't actually have a chance to ask Jerry. But Hamster in My Head, check it out. It should be around pretty soon. It'll be a good time. So, but what do you say? Should we send it on over to our guest star tonight?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. She's been waiting so patiently for us. Everybody, please welcome to Hawk Wins, Jamie Schreiner. Welcome, Jamie.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for
Welcome.
having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for coming. We appreciate you weathering the storm here in Chicago, making your way through those blustery winds.
I feel like this is like, I've been in Chicago the past 8 years, and this is better than yesterday as far as coldness and overall snowfall. This is nothing. I'm like, it's another day.
Just another day in paradise.
I feel like we all withstand it to get to summer. Like, I'm just thinking of the summer. Oh, my hat flipped up. I'm wearing I am wearing my headphones like this
sunglasses.
because the whole reason I do want to acknowledge to the audience at home, I'm not wearing my headphones like this to be cool. It's really just when I put this one over my ear, it's making my hearing aids ding, and that's going to send me into a psychosis because it's very irritating. So I want to be able to hear them, but also not go insane. And that's why this isn't a look to be cool. It's really a functional reason that I'm doing this.
But you do look cool.
Thank you. I think I worry I look like I'm trying to be cool.
No, girl, you got style.
Thank you. I try to put on a fit from time to time. I try to throw on a fit or two.
You definitely have an aesthetic. It was funny to watch you walk down the block, and then as soon as you came in here, you like pulled your jacket out. It was just sunshine and rainbows the whole way.
Yes, I do have. This is a reversible coat that is white on the outside and Sherpa, which I've been wearing, but the lining is giving Technicolor Wizard of Oz vibes. So yes, that is very valid. Thank you very much for noticing.
And your rainbow hat as well, very colorful. And the specs too.
Yeah,
You look great.
Thank you. No, I feel like it's one of those things. I was thinking about how I can make this into a joke in the car on the way here, because I feel like that's the ongoing thing for a comedian is any thought you have, you're like, how can I make this into a bit? But it's like, I feel like I'm in this position, and like maybe it could be explained with astrology, maybe it could be explained with childhood trauma. I don't know what it is, but it's like I think that I do dress in a very outgoing way, but I actually am an introvert and I get a little shy when I'm perceived, and so it's like I continuously set myself up to fail because I'm like, oh my, why are people looking? And it's like, Jamie, people are looking at you because you're wearing a rainbow hat and these like that doesn't. It's not giving, don't look at me. It's giving, look at me. And I need to be comfortable.
Look, it's all the colors right there. But it brightens people's day though, I'm sure, you know.
And I think that's part of why I do it is because it's like I grew up in Indiana and I feel like I very much tried to fit in, definitely in high school for sure, in college. And then like as I've gotten older and as I've kind of found my voice within comedy, I feel like I dress this way as well because it like leans into the aesthetic of what I'm trying to say on stage, and it just like it's just fun. It's just fun to dress without other people in mind. Like I somebody called it like serotonin dressing on the internet, and when I say the internet, I do mean TikTok because I am way too online. But it's like I think that like serotonin dressing is really just the idea of like putting on stuff that is kind of outlandish or like colorful, or maybe doesn't match because it makes you happy.
Yeah.
So
Dopamine dress.
yes, it's not serotonin. It's definitely dopamine dress. As you said it, I'm like, that's what it is.
Dopamine decor as well too. You know, it's just things that are there that make you happy.
Yes, like that one girl. I'm like forgetting the creator's name, but there's this one woman who like her like chandelier has like spoons, and then she like makes these like mountable like cereal bowls, and like her basically like her whole house is somebody after the fact tell me who I'm talking about, but it's like her whole house is definitely like dopamine design. It's I'll send you after the show. I'll be able to go and be like, this is who I'm talking about, because like
sounds like Pee Wee Herman's like
yes, it is like Pee Wee's Playhouse, and she like makes it all. It's so like I am so envious of people who can like design their own furniture, or like there's one person I saw who like will go to the thrift store and it's like, I liked the fabric, but I made it into a set, like, and she'll just like, it'll transition to like, she completely doctored it and sewed it and made it something else. I'm like, I wish that was my talent. I'm grateful for the talent I have, but it's like, oh, I wish that I could just alter a thrift store dress into like a completely different thing and grab fabric, like to have the vision to do that, but then to be able to execute that as well is like absolutely remarkable.
Yeah. Well, it's never too late to start. You know, you practice 10 minutes a day. Before you know it, you know, you're a seamstress. And,
actually, you know what? You're right. Maybe I should, even if I just started trying to like learn hand sewing, and then it's like, if I saved enough money, like to get a sewing machine, I'm sure it's like, I mean, yeah, you got to start somewhere.
They make the cheap ones now, the handheld ones. You can like, you know, just seam your way through. You don't have to get the big clunky thing, you know.
You can just hand hold it.
It's like a handheld thing. It almost looks like a pair of like mechanical scissors or something, and it'll and yeah, it's super easy. I've used it a couple times.
I've not seen these. I need to after the show. I need to look this up because I'm like, really? You can just like.
Well, hopefully we get a new pandemic or something, so everyone can get another round at that and stay at home and learn a new hobby. You know.
As I cough, no, I mean, my thing is like. I simultaneously like. I'm grateful for the pandemic. I almost called it the panini. I'm grateful for the pandemic.
I love paninis.
I'm grateful for paninis too.
What is like? I feel like it's like it was an experience that like I was so upset to not be able to perform, and I wrote so much that I was like, when I get out, when I'm able to perform again, I'm going to do this for me and what I want to say, because it was like, I think for a really long time I was like, oh, I have to impress the comics in the back of the room, but then it was like the pandemic made me realize like this isn't about the comics in the back of the room. They're not the people who are like gonna buy tickets to my show. They're not the people who, you know, like obviously like it would be nice to have their respect, but it's like more important to like build an audience and be true to what I'm trying to say. And I feel like the pandemic really brought that out of me. But I don't think I would like another one. But it does seem like it could be heading in that. I mean, not even that direction. I just like I saw, and I don't want to get too into this because it's not a fun thing to talk about, but it's like I saw a video that was talking about it's a different term for it. It's hypernormalization. Like part of why so many of us right now are feeling this like existential dread and feeling crazy and like why do I feel this dread is it's like because we have the common sense and the knowledge to see that the systems around us are deteriorating and potentially failing, but then the front-facing governments and corporations and, you know, the people who run everything are looking at us and they're like, no, everything's good. And it's like, but we know it's not. Like, we know, but then we're like kind of being told like, nope, business as usual. And it's not business as usual. It's never going to be business as usual again with the way things are. So it's like, yeah, I feel like that is an interesting place to be in when trying to make people laugh and smile and have a fun time.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
It makes you feel better knowing that, you know, you're not completely crazy. Everyone's feeling this way, you know?
Yeah.
It is a natural way to feel over something that as things are crumbling around you. It's really messed up. But no, you know, I think, you know, through hard times, through comes really great art, and you know, I think you're definitely one to show it too. And you know, we were talking about aesthetic earlier too, and I was kind of hoping you can elaborate on like, you know, how your style changed maybe before and after the pandemic while being a performer. And another thing I wanted to talk about, speaking of aesthetic, was like your comedy special. You had that inflatable pink couch behind you. And like,
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. Like the second I saw that, I giggled so hard because it reminded me of Planet Lunch Points as a kid.
Oh, thank you.
And I just, you know, I thought that was super fun. And, you know, like when I first started getting into comedy, my teacher told us that you are the fish and the stage is your aquarium. And you were decoring that aquarium very well. And I was hoping maybe you could talk about, you know, where'd you find your style? How did you know, why the inflatables?
Why the inflatables, why the feathers and everything. So with my, I think with my special specifically, it was something where it's like I was approached by Comedy Dynamics to record an album, and an album would just have been audio, like similar to like if you're listening to this on the radio right now and not watching on YouTube, you just would like hear my jokes, hear the songs. And I was really excited with the opportunity, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I think I'm going to have to shell out the cash for a special because what I do is so physical and performative. And yeah, you can listen to it and you'll get the jokes. And I'm, you know, very grateful. Like I do get, you know, like radio play and people listen on Spotify. But I wanted, if I was going to put all this work into making it, to have a visual component as well. And I'm very lucky that like Eric Freddy, who's since moved to New York, he worked with me. He was willing to direct it. And I kind of just wanted to take everything that I had written that I felt like fit within the theme of like this theater kid figuring out how to be an adult. Like that was very much like, and a theater kid from Indiana. Like I wanted that to be kind of the thesis, I guess, so to speak. And because of that, I wanted to like build a set. Like the theater kid in me, I was like, I need to build a set, and I want to convey, you know, like the playfulness and the drama and just that like this isn't going to be your average my wife's a bitch. Like that's not that's not what you came to see. And I think like I wanted to do I immediately thought of inflatable couch just because like I wanted some piece of furniture, but I was like, oh, an inflatable couch makes sense in terms of like I'm a 90s baby. I'm telling stories from my childhood in this special. I wanted the feather boas just because I feel like they created texture. I think the green rug that I had there, I ended up doing that because when I finally like toured the space, I agreed to do it in the space. And originally I was going to have us face like the room would be turned about face. But then I saw the levels of that corner and I was like, well, wouldn't it be fun if I could have like this space on the floor is the stage, and then it's like the levels behind me is where I can build, this set, because I'm somebody who, like, even though what I do is very like theatrical, part of why I love stand up and part of what I love about stand up versus, like, I have a background in musical theater. I did like these theater shows where I was in these big spaces, and I still perform like at Laugh Factory and other venues that are big, like 100, 300 seat spaces. But for my special, especially my first one, I wanted to convey that, like, this can be me with 50 people in folding chairs, and it's going to convey the same. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, I think a lot of people assume musical comedy needs to be this, like, high, and it's funny that I'm saying needs to be this high concept thing and not acknowledging the set and not acknowledging that I made like, those things were high concept. But I think as far as, like, the lighting and the actual size of the space, I wanted it to be very intimate, because the nature of how I came up as a musical comedian, especially here in Chicago, was me going to bars and hiding a speaker in the back and kind of like guerrilla style getting people into musical comedy. Like, it was always my goal to get people who don't like musical comedy to like what I do, because I am stubborn as hell. And so it's like, I don't want to be put into this box and only be for people who are into musical comedy. Like, I really wanted to get people who are not on my side. And so I was like, how can I do that? And I think the approach I took was like the surprise element of just like, if you watch a bit of the special, I'll be talking about something and then I'm like, cool, DJ hit it. And like, that's a big element of what I do, is just the songs coming out of nowhere, because I think that that's very true to like anybody who's close to me. I think a lot of it's because of the ADHD. I will be talking and then I will just start singing something and then go back to like, that is like, it's a heightened version of like what a real conversation with me would be like. Oop.
It's like stimming in a way.
Yes, I do. I stim so much. And like, my roommate also has ADHD, and she's a prop designer. She's not in the comedy world, which is really nice to live with somebody who's outside of the comedy world, because it gives you like a little break from it. But we both have ADHD, so there's some moments where we'll like we'll be in the apartment and we'll stim at different times, different songs. Or there's been a few, like, the point I'm trying to get to is there's a few very magical moments where we will stim the same lyric of the same song at the same time. And that's like, what the hell just happened? Like, it feels like
telepathy.
Yeah, it feels telepathy, serendipity, whatever word you want to use. It's like, what did we just do? But yeah, I'm not sure if I lost the plot. I think we were talking about how I got the idea for the set. I think it was just because it was like, I'm a theater kid. I was like, I want this to look really cool, but then also be like really intimate and black box and sincere, which is like polar opposite things. I understand that, but I think that I live in that polar opposites place a lot, I think, in terms of like, yeah, I dress like this, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm being perceived. Like, what? I'm shy. I don't like, yeah, I think that I wanted to have that duality. And I think I achieved that. But I think it's interesting because I'm like working on my new hour now. And I don't know if I would have a set, honestly. I'm not sure I would. Because like, we'll talk about it later, but it's like I'm doing the concept album too. I think that some of the songs from the concept album will be included in the hour. But the hour feels a lot more like stripped down and like more traditional stand. But that, I mean, what I do is not true. It's not. Like, objectively it's not. But it's like, yeah, I don't know if I would this next time around have this set and have the things that I did for Corn Baby, because I think that, like, I do think a large part of why I did that is because so much of those stories and those songs came from my childhood and my adolescence and my coming of age. And like, that's why you get a Y2K couch and the feather boas. And like, I know like a big thing on TikTok is people are like, oh my God, I love that jumpsuit. Where'd you get it? And it's like, I got it, but then I like hand applied all of those. I didn't stitch. Again, it's like another reason I need to get into the sewing, but it's like I used I think I used hot glue horrible mistake. They all were falling off throughout the show. And then after the fact, everybody's like, oh, you need to use this glue that, like drag artists use. That's more
like
adhesive.
P6000 stuff.
Yes. And I was like, I wish I would have known before I lost 5,000 sparkly star patches in a rug.
And it's fun too. I think especially a lot of 90s kids really love 90s nostalgia. You know, it was a pretty wholesome time before the internet hit, and you know, we definitely got that last bit of it, and it's fun. And I think that's, you know, going back to what you were saying earlier about how people our age like feel like there's inevitable doom, and maybe they resort to their childhood as maybe like a coping mechanism, which is why Nintendo 64 is still like played regularly, you know, and people really love the 90s feel. Even like young kids now, whatever generation they are now coming up right now, they're all really into the 90s. I went to an art show. They had like Tamagotchis on the wall. They're like, look at this ancient relic. I was like, fuck, I'm so old.
Dude, Tamagotchis, dude, those were the shit.
They were so good. 3 buttons, nice and simple.
I'm like, ancient relic hurts me in my heart. Like, truly, hearing that called that, I'm like,
it was a joke. She didn't actually say ancient relic.
Well,
it's like,
perceived
yes.
it that way.
Well, when you listen to like music and stuff, Green Day is now considered classic rock. Do you know that shit?
Yeah, I believe
Fucking
it.
sucks.
From the start in the 80s, yeah. You know,
That's
Jamie,
hurtful.
I was hoping to ask about your writing style as a musical comedian. Do you write it as like a normal stand-up would write their own set, and where you kind of piece your bits in there? Or do you take it as like you write it as like a whole script, like it's like a theatrical performance?
I feel like when I'm initially writing jokes and songs, I will kind of let ideas come to me based on like what's happening in my life, as well as just like conversations I have, stuff I see online. Sometimes I'll just be in the shower and I'll be like, this is an idea. And like, I usually know right away whether something should be a song or a joke. I'm so sorry. But I think that like when I'm crafting a bigger, longer form piece, that's when I start writing it out like a script. I am so sorry, everybody. Because like as a theater kid, I'm sorry, I feel like I breathed in like a piece of dust, and it's like
You
I'm
gotta
choking
get
it
out of
now.
the coal mines, girl.
I do feel like that scene in Zoolander right now. Woo!
She caught the black lung.
Yes, exactly. Like, man. So, like, I'll write out a longer form script version. I'm sorry, it's like really, when I'm trying to put something together, because I want it to have a plot to it. Yeah, and like, with that, I'm also looking at like what moments like connect thematically. So it's like I want to order, like I'm trying to think of a good example of this is like with Corn Baby. I kind of like with Corn Baby, I put all of my jokes into a Word document, and I kind of like looked at them in order, and I started ordering them in different ways. And then like when I was touring and I would have longer sets, I would try the full thing in that order. And then let's say I had a shorter set and I was like, okay, that order was kind of weird. Let's work out this chunk with this shorter set. And that was kind of like how I figured out the order. Okay, that should be it now. The dust feels like it dislodged.
You gotta spit it out. You can spit it out. It's okay.
I know. I feel like it's that time of year where I like can't exist on this earth without. You were talking about like turning 30. I feel like ever since I turned 30, the cold air It's like my knees are creaking, my back, and I like can't breathe anymore. Like I've always had asthma, but this is on another level, and I do not recommend it.
So it does hurt to turn 30. I am not looking forward to that one.
Like
It's
I
worth
love
doing,
like
but-
mentally. I'd say mentally, spiritually, I love being over 30. I feel like I'm wiser than I've ever been, but my body is deteriorating, and I've noticed wrinkles on my face that make me sad.
No.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
I hate
So
looking
your
at
first gray hair.
Yeah, I hate looking in the mirror and like, cause like you can't tell, but I have like 1 or 2 gray hairs, and it's like, what the fuck? Where'd that come from?
That's
Or like,
wisdom.
I'll be like fucking doing my morning shave or whatever, and I'll realize like a wrinkle or 2 that I didn't have a couple of weeks ago.
No.
It's like, where did that one come from?
Yep.
Fuck, dude.
You know, I see your scar up here. I think you and I have matching scars. Do we?
Maybe, I don't know.
Right here. You got one right there. I got one right here. The legend has it I got it while at an amusement park, and I think it was like the Great Movie Ride or something, and cowboys were shooting back and forth, and I hit the deck and I like buffed my eyeball, and I totally scraped it up.
You got that scar in a duel?
In a duel, cowboy shot me.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, you know.
I don't remember how I got my scar, but I feel like that's how I got most of my scars. I don't remember.
Yeah. I remember all mine. They were pretty bad. Yeah.
I'm actually glad I don't remember, because some of them look like they hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. Tattoos are technically scars. Those definitely hurt.
Oh, yeah. I only remember some of them.
What? How do you prep for a tattoo?
How do you prep for a tattoo?
I mean, not that like I've never done one. But like, how do you?
How do I prep? A lot of mental, like, I know it's gonna hurt. Just gotta like kind of take it.
Yeah.
Cause you know what I mean.
Headphones,
So
you do, like,
when
edibles.
people say I get a little high for sure. I was told not to drink before a tattoo just because your blood thins out
Yeah.
and you'll probably bleed a lot more. So I haven't done that, but I've definitely gotten really stoned before a tattoo, and that's helped. It's just a lot of mental preparation, because whoever says tattoos don't hurt is a fucking liar.
You're lying.
They're lying to you. They fucking hurt. It's
lying.
a little. It depends if you're shading or if you're doing line work. It's either one needle or it's like 5 to 6 little fucking needles just going into your skin back and forth really freaking fast.
The outline hurts. The
So it
most.
hurts. Whoever tells you it doesn't hurt is lying.
Yeah.
But you gotta mentally prepare yourself for the hurt. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I've taken was ibuprofen, so it's not a blood thinner, but it's a fever reducer and like a painkiller, so that helps a little bit. I always get my tattoo guy a gift too. I think it's just fun, and I think they take care of you a little better if they like you bring them like you bring them a Monster or like pack of cigarettes or whatever.
Little after tattoo joint.
Yeah, right. They'll take a little more time on you, make sure you're all right.
Make sure you're all good to go.
Yeah.
It's incredibly thoughtful. I never thought about doing that. I just try to like leave a 20% tip. And it's funny you talk about like, oh, tattoos are painful. Whoever tells you that. I do agree with that. I think I'm at like 10 or 11 now. And like, I have my most painful one I've ever got is I have one on the front of my shin. And
Can we see it?
yes, you can't, I mean, they're not gonna be able to see on camera, but it's a cow and it says get plowed.
Yes. I mean, we can adjust that.
And yeah, it's like I was there and it started and I was like, oh, this is painful. And
That's
then it
right
was
on the bone,
continuing.
too.
It's right on the bone. It took like, I think it took like 8 hours. I was there for like 8 hours. This is the only one I've ever had somebody spray the like numbing spray on it. But I'm really glad that he did, because it was like, yeah, it fucking hurt. And like all tattoos hurt, but like it's literally right on the bone. I feel like there's not any, and people kept telling me, they're like, you should get it on the back of your calf. And I was like, no, I want it on my shin. And then it was like, as it was happening, I'm like, I should have listened to those people who told me to get it on my calf. Yeah. But I like, now that it's done, I like where it's placed, because I want it to be that like when I'm front facing, you can see it. I don't know if I'll get any more leg tattoos. I do really want to have like, I want to try to have like the opposite of a half sleeve, where it's like the bottom part of my arm and then like on my hands, so it looks like the like old timey gloves.
That'd be cool.
That's like, it's what I'm working on. I'm not like in a rush. It's just like as tattoos happen, I would like to build so that it's like. Da-da-da.
You know what's funny? That's kind of the same concept I was going for, because I have all my tattoos on the bottom of my arm, but I have like none up here.
Yes,
Because I was all like, well, if I'm gonna wear like shirts and stuff, you know, I mean, no one's gonna see all the tattoos I have up here, but they're all gonna see all the tattoos I have. That's kind of the point for me, at least. Like,
Yeah. What's the point
I
of
want
buying
people
it if
to
no
see
one
'em.
can see it? Right?
exactly. I want people to look at this cool art that somebody made on my skin.
See, I'm the opposite. All mine are on my back, and I think I have like 8 or 9, and I have a little Mickey Mouse on the side of my leg. It was a
love that.
Friday the 13th deal. It was just like a little Mickey Mouse head, but everyone says it looks like a chode. I'm sitting there, like, at the gym or at the beach or whatever, and he'll pop out, and people are like, "Is that a little micro penis on your?"
You're like, no,
You
it's
gotta
Mickey.
represent, man. I'm kidding.
Well, yeah, it was a cheap tattoo. It was like $20. I was like, sure, I'll get a fucking Mickey Mouse.
Oh, I
So,
have I have a Jigglypuff on my butt.
yeah,
That's the same
I
way
love
reason.
that.
It was like I don't think it was a Friday the 13th special, but it was like some kind of special. I think I paid like $30.
No shit.
It's
How
somewhere in
big is it?
Indiana. It's like this big. So it's like it's small, but it's like I just remember it was the second tattoo I ever got, and I went in, I was like, I would like it on my upper right butt cheek. And they just put like ass in all caps, and I was like so embarrassed. And my friend who was with me, she tells me that it was like the artist like would like get right into my butt cheek and then like go back, and then it was like every time she would come up for air, she'd just see like Jigglypuff's eyes bleeding. She's like, it was the most like haunting
That's funny.
thing I've ever witnessed. But because yeah, my friend was standing there because it's like yeah, I'm laying on a table with my ass out, and so everybody walking by is like,
Do you?
it's Indiana. I mean, sorry if you're at home and from Indiana, but it's Indiana, so you know people are trying to look where they shouldn't be looking.
I gotta
Do you
ask.
guys-
You could say next question, but is it easy getting a tattoo on your butt? Because it's like it's a meaty place. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't
Oh yeah,
mean
I
that,
don't feel like it. I think it hurt in like the bone part because I did like where my hip becomes my butt. But like yeah, I don't remember it hurting. Like the ones that I remember hurting are my shin. This one I just got this one. It's not healing as well as I would like, which is on me.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But it's like a disco ball.
Quit
This one
picking at it.
really hurt. Yeah, picking at it is not helping. But this one really, really hurt. Just because it was like, I didn't think about like all the filling that had to happen. And then it has like a glitter element to it. So it's just tons of like little dots. Also, somebody in the comments said, is your next tattoo going to be Mudang? That would be cute.
Emily
I-
wants to know if your next tattoo is gonna be Mudang.
Mm.
Is that the cute little hippo?
Jay, yeah.
Cute little pygmy hippo from Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would be
Are you going to get a
cute.
Mudang tat?
Probably. I'm thinking about it. It's gonna be a little Mudang eating or biting a little leg.
Oh, I love that.
That's what Mudang does.
By its
Yeah.
legs?
Bites legs, right? She's unbothered and very sassy.
Oh,
Yeah.
just
Kind of like me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mudang.
I am unbothered and sassy. What's your next tattoo if you're gonna get one?
Well, first off, thank you, Emily, for the comment. We appreciate it. If you guys have questions or comments for us, please go down in the comment section below. Let us know what you want to ask us. My next tattoo, I have a couple. I have a wish list. I'm like a basic white bitch with a Pinterest board. I have so many like saved on a folder in my computer. I really want. I want to get all the Chicago sports teams eventually. Like
even the White Sox.
even the White Sox. It would be a spinning.
Why?
It would be a spinning top though, so it wouldn't be like directly their logo, but it would be like a mama bear and a cub, and then like a bull skull. I think would be really cool, and then maybe like the White Sox like spinning top. Those are all on my wish list.
Or you get something or a character that has all those tattoos on them.
Right. Right. Well, I got a lot of real estate on my back, so I'm hoping I can, put it a little more out there. It's fun too, and I think that's maybe my favorite part about tattoo culture is like when you talk to people about it, they're like, I got this when I was at this point in my life, and I got this because of this, and it's kind of a cool progression of somebody's life, and there's so many stories behind each tattoo.
Yeah, like I I don't really like when people ask me what my tattoos mean because they don't necessarily have a meaning. But I can tell you where I was in that point in life or the time frame that I was doing it in. Like that's pretty much what that signifies to me, is like a point in time in your life and you just want to stamp it on your body. At least that's what that means to me. I know a lot of people get tattoos because it means something to them, but I feel like mine don't have any meaning.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the time and point in life where I was when I got all of them.
Yeah.
I wanted to say really quickly, so like hypothetical situation, you like go on a first date with somebody, it's gone really well, you really like them, you go home, it's like about to be, that time,
About to make
and they're
whoopee.
just like, hey, before we get started, there's something I need to show you,
Uh-oh.
and they take off their shirt, and this is their back.
Oh, and it's the Muppets?
What do you?
I'd be so turned on.
Yeah.
I'd love that, actually. I love the Muppets.
I love the Muppets too. I feel like it's like, because my next tattoo, I want to get a Muppets tattoo. And so I like searched Muppets tattoo and this came up and I was like, okay, that's maybe like more than, that's maybe more than I'm trying to get. But like, I do respect the hell out of it just because it looks so good. Like they're all so realistic.
Well, first of all, if somebody decides to get a tattoo, like their whole back, that shit freaking hurts. So the fact that they went through it, fuck.
They're
I mean,
committed.
they're
They could be committed to a
They'll
relationship.
probably be, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's like, I mean, it does show that they can commit to something,
It
which
shows,
is,
it shows they can get through the hard times,
Damn right.
in this day and age, that's all you need,
That's all
really.
you need.
Somebody that you can rely on to like to see it through to
Right.
the end. They could have done the first outline of Miss Piggy and been like,
Like,
you know
nope.
what,
This sucks way too much.
I'm out. Yeah.
Jamie, I got a personality question for you.
Okay.
And we've asked this to our former guests on the show, too.
Yes.
I want you to name 3 Muppets that most describe you, and like why you identify with those 3 Muppets.
Okay.
I take it you're a Muppets fan.
I'm a huge Muppets fan,
Otherwise,
so that's why I'm
okay,
like,
good.
I'm trying to think long and hard about this so that I answer as best possible. Miss Piggy for sure. I think Miss Piggy right out the gate is like an obvious. I remember as a child, a character artist at Six Flags drawing me as Miss Piggy and being so hurt as a little girl. I was like, but now as an adult, I'm like, I was a baddie. Like that's cool as hell. Drew me as Miss Piggy. Do it again. Miss Piggy, I think probably. Oh, Janice. Janice. I love Janice.
I just want to make the whole world happy.
Yes, I'd say Janice, Miss Piggy, and then probably like a dash of Gonzo.
I can see that.
Just like, and specifically Gonzo as Charles Dickens and Muppet Christmas Carol. Like I do feel like that version of Gonzo. I'm like, yes, I see myself in that. I'm like, how about you? I'm sure you've answered this too. Has anybody asked it back to you?
Oh God, yeah. I'm always prepared for this question.
All right, hit me.
Dr.
You too. You're not exempt. Both of you, but you first.
Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
Great answer.
Love Dr. Teeth. I would also have to say Fozzie Bear, Waka Waka. I try to throw too many jokes out there that don't always land, but they're genuinely funny. And if you don't fucking laugh at it, that's on you, I guess. And then my third one would be Sweetums, like the real big hairy monster with the big moving mouth.
Yes.
He's really just sweet down inside, but he might have this like scary persona.
Yeah, scary exterior. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I like to play hockey and other sports with a big club. So,
Like,
yeah. So I'd say those are my 3. How about you, Jay Smooth?
Oh shit! I don't really know the Muppets. The Sesame Street count as Muppets.
Sure, yeah.
Oh
Sure.
man, that's the only
They're like
like
cousins,
That's the
right?
only relation I have with the Muppets. But if I were to choose from those characters, I'd be like Oscar the Grouch,
Love.
and then that fucking.
Because you look like a weed nugget.
Yeah. I feel like a weed nugget most of the time. The Snuffleupagus, the big fucking who's always
yeah.
fucking stoned as well, and
Yeah, he's
then
for sure stoned.
one of the fucking I can't remember if it's Ernie or Bert, the not the long yellow dude, but the
Ernie.
orange guy. Yeah,
Ernie, yeah.
those are my 3
I could see Ernie.
if I had to choose.
With
If
rubber ducks.
they I
Oh,
like
rubber
having
ducky's great.
little rubber duckies in my bath.
That's fun.
Yeah,
We should dress as Bert and Ernie for the next show. That'd be funny.
let's do
That'd
it.
be a good.
Jay, come on now.
Mm.
Can I give an honorable mention too for
course,
the Muppets question?
I would love it.
I forgot their names, but the two old men who are like up in the peanut gallery, love those guys.
Yeah.
I think they're so funny.
What are their names? Crap.
Great commentary in any show.
Yeah, because it's again, I just think of the Muppets Christmas Carol because that's the one I just watched. But they are Jacob and Robert Marley, which is not their names. It's
Stadler and Waldorf.
Yes,
Stadler
I love
and
them.
Waldorf. Those guys were
Icons, true
Yeah,
icons, because they're
legends.
just, they just heckle everybody. Like it's, and I think I would like to be Kermit the Frog, but I don't think I am Kermit the Frog. You
It's
know
a
what I
big
mean?
responsibility to
It's
be
a
Kermit.
big responsibility to be Kermit.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's too much response. Like, yeah.
You know-
I think I would love to be Kermit, but I don't think I am Kermit.
Yeah. You know, one thing I really appreciated about Kermit when I like got older and got into comedy is seeing that Kermit is not just like the head guy, but he's like operating the show. You know what I mean? He was the extension of Jim Henson where he's like, I'm performing in this, but I'm also like orchestrating the whole damn thing. You know, that's a lot of work for just a green frog, you know?
When I
Ain't
love
Kermit the Frog here.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I kind of feel like Kermit the Frog.
Yeah,
a
you
little
definitely
bit.
Kermit.
I
I'd
think
say
that you have a
Kermit.
Kermit energy. I get a
Definitely
Kermit energy
Kermit
off of
energy.
you.
Kermit the Frog here.
Because I was going to say, like, the
You're the Kermit of Hawk Wins for sure.
Shit.
I'm sorry, the Kermit moment that I love the most is in the Muppets movie, not the most recent one with Jason Segel, but the one back from in the 70s, or maybe it was the 80s. I don't know the exact timestamp on what year it came out, but like the scene where in the desert and he's talking to himself and he's like, you know, like if we fail, like I let everybody down, and the other him that's talking to him is like, yeah, but like who started this journey? Like you did, so you wanted this too. So it's not just about these people that you met along the way. Like you wanted this too. And then like the other version of him disappears, and it like kind of gives him that like motivation to, you know, carry on. But it's like, oh yeah, I did do this for me too. And I feel like it's like Kermit as a character. Part of why I think I aspire to be Kermit, but I don't think I'm quite Kermit, is like, yeah, he literally is such a selfless and for the collective person that even though he set up on this thing initially for himself, he's more hurt that he's letting everybody else down along the way than like that he's not going to get to be a star. It's like,
Right.
oh,
He
I
doesn't
brought all
have a
these
big
people-
ego. He's a we kind of guy.
Yes, he's such an id guy, and I love Kermit. I do love Kermit, and I think that's why Kermit and Miss Piggy. I know that they allegedly in the news have broken
Oh,
up,
they're separated.
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
which is very hurtful to me. But they're a perfect example of ego and id, because she's so ego
Oh, for
and
sure.
he's so id, and it's they balance each other out. So I hope that they reunite one day. I
That
really
would be
do.
Great. That would be the greatest comeback in all of Hollywood.
Oh, I would be in the streets just like
That's really what the world needs right now. With everything going on, we
Yeah.
really just need Kermit and Miss Piggy to get back together.
yeah. Can you guys just give us that,
Right?
please?
That's all we want. You know?
Chat, please give us Kermit and Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
I want them to get back together, please.
Please chat.
Like I'm not saying they can continue with the toxicity that their relationship once had, but can they rekindle? Can they start anew?
Right.
Maybe they're seeing a Muppets couples therapist. Maybe
Right.
they're
No, I feel like the toxicity they had has kind of made them as a couple. I feel like if you lose that, it's like that should be any other couple at that point.
Yeah. What if they had a nasty breakup that, like, you know, the public doesn't know about? We're just speculating here, guys, but, like, you know,
if they did, it's one of those things I'm like, I wonder if, like, Kermit's not really as id as his public persona lets on.
Yeah, right.
But I do think Miss Piggy, even though she's very much a diva, like, at least what you see is what you get. I do wonder with Kermit, I'm like, is there more behind the frog that we're not seeing?
There definitely is. There's
I think
always more
so.
behind the frog.
he's so secret. He's
more
secretly a
behind
narcissist.
Yeah. There's more behind the pig, too. You know?
If you
course.
think Miss Piggy would, if you think Kermit would cheat on Miss Piggy with any Muppet character, who would it be on? With
Or who do you get with?
yeah.
I don't know. Janice seems like a pretty free spirit.
Mm.
I'm gonna throw a curveball. Maybe he was given with Animal. You know,
Ooh.
Animal seems freaky. Animal seems like he's pansexual, polyamorous, just out here for a good time, not a long time.
Just him
He's into chains and whips and all that. Yeah, like,
Yeah, no, he's got a shower curtain. You pull it back. There's a bunch of like paddles.
Mm-hmm.
There's like collars.
While
You're
we're
like,
at it,
what even is this?
we might as well throw Beaker out there too.
Oh, Beaker would be Beaker. But I feel like Beaker and Kermit would fall in love.
Right.
Like him and Animal would like fuck, but Beaker and Kermit like they're in love. Like it's like Miss Piggy, I'm so sorry. I've fallen in love with Beaker.
I also want to know what celebrities Miss Piggy has been with too.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's true.
Because it's not even the Muppetverse. Miss Piggy's like she's pulling like regular ass
Supermodels.
celeb. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I
She's
feel
like
like
Derek Jeter, like probably some pro.
she's with Jeremy Allen White.
probably.
I could see it.
I feel like her and Drake would be a thing.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Unfortunately, yes. I'm like, ugh. Piggy, no. No.
I'd love to read her little black book. That would be so interesting.
Just see like who she. I'm like, release the context. We want to know.
Well, I want to know all of Kermit the Frog's Eskimo cousins.
Yes.
I want to know. Gotta know it.
Yeah.
It's really what the world needs.
Yeah.
Anyways, aside from Muppets, what were some of your other comedic inspirations growing up?
Oh man, it's funny. We talked about Pee Wee's Playhouse. I love Pee Wee. In high school specifically, I got really into the Mighty Boosh off of that. Did you ever see the old Greg clip?
Oh yeah.
I'm all Greg. I watched that and I was like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. And I like went down a rabbit hole. I think I like illegally downloaded all of the episodes because they weren't available in America. And then like that Christmas, my parents got me all of the DVDs of all of the seasons of that show in a version that I could, because it's like they have a different DVD player in the UK than in the US. So it's like I had to get specific DVDs that would work. And I had the like deluxe box set of Mighty Boosh, and I would like invite friends over and be like, let's watch Mighty Boosh. And they were like, what is that? They're like, Jamie, I'm sorry, I can't get into this, but I love that because it was so surrealist and like weird. And there were like, the thing I loved about the Mighty Boosh is it was basically just like 4 friends got a minimal budget from the BBC and they were like, let's make a show. It actually might not be the BBC. It might be Channel 4. I apologize. Some network in the UK gave them a very small budget and they're like, we're going to make this show where it's like the same 4 characters and then like the situation changes every episode, but we play all of the characters and then we'll hire our friends to play like other side characters. And it was just like the weird costumes and the locations. Like the old Greg clip is just the tip of the iceberg as far as like all the other episodes. And like, I'm gonna be honest, like most of the things that were popular when I was in high school, some of it has not aged well. However, I have to acknowledge that like 15, 16-year-old Jamie was like, this shit rules. Like, I want to do this. Like, I want to make stupid little stories with my friends. Like, that's basically what it is. Is like they had these recurring characters, but each episode is a different story. And they got to play all the different characters. And I think the other thing too is I should mention, like, the Mighty Boosh, pretty much every episode has a song. So there's like a musical comedy element as well. So obviously somebody like, like with what I do now, like, yeah, it was heavily influential to me. And I was like, oh, like comedy can be anything. I'd say like that, as well as like, I'm really grateful in terms of like, when I got into college, I loved Randy Feltface because I was like, oh, comedy can be literally anything. Like, it's a fucking puppet behind. And I've since got to work with Randy. Like, I've met the man who plays Randy. I've toured with him. So that feels very, like, full circle and awesome that, like, one of the examples of stand-up can be more than just a dude with a microphone is now, like, more than just, like, a hero to me. He's also a colleague. We've worked together, which is awesome. And yeah, I guess I'd also say Flight of the Conchords I loved. As I've gotten older, I love Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. I love Rachel Bloom and Kat Cohen and like all the musical comedy people. Little Dicky I loved in high school. Yeah, I feel like for me it's like anybody.
Bo Burnham.
Oh my gosh, I can't. I feel like it's like I was like, I know I'm forgetting somebody. Yes, Bo, like, when I watched Inside, and I've always loved Bo since high school, but for me, it's like the evolution of Bo is really what's been beautiful to watch. Like, sure. Inside, I remember being like so moved, so inspired, and so like motivated in terms of like, I have to make something that good. Like, I owe it. Like, if I've been pursuing this path as long as I have, and by the time I'm done, I have not created something that has that much value and just like well-rounded, the story's there, every moment you're pulled in. I was like, that is like, that's the bar to me. Like, as far as musical comedy, and the thing is, some people don't say like that it's musical comedy. Some people are like, it's a different thing entirely. And I'm like, yeah, but you laugh. And like, he has something to say. I feel like that's my biggest thing is like, I love comedy that has something to say, or that is like not the same thing we've seen all the time. So like, unique has something to say, to me, is like top priority over everything. And that's just my opinion. Like, it's a subjective art form, but I'm just, that is what I'm always inspired by, is those two things.
And what are the big messages you'd like to tell?
Ooh, I think probably one of my biggest ones, and it's funny because it's like, I think in my personal life, I'm still struggling to live this, but I think I am trying to say that marginalized groups should take up space. Not only should we have to take up space. Like, we have to. And it's like, and basically for me, it's like, I hate taking up space in my day-to-day life. So it's like, when I get on stage, that's my opportunity of like, I'm gonna take up this space. And I do it because I want people in the audience who are, like women or femmes or marginalized communities who struggle to take up space in the same way that I do in my day-to-day life, to be like, oh, I can take up space. And I feel like it's like, I almost sometimes feel like the wizard in The Wizard of Oz behind the curtain when people talk to me after the show, because they're like, oh, you're very awkward and shy and not the person you are on stage. And it's like, the person I am when I'm on stage, I think, is like, some people say it's a character. For me, I wouldn't say it's a character. It's like what I aspire to be. That's what I'm trying to put out there, is like, this version of myself that's willing to say what people are thinking but don't want to say, and willing to take up space. That's, first of all, hugest thing. Second biggest thing, and I described this to like a friend of mine earlier today, actually. I would love to create a space that is like, I'm nervous to say this on a live thing, but I'm going to say it because I've said it and I mean it from my chest. What Joe Rogan has created for the people who love him, whatever audience is the 180 opposite of that, I would like to create an audience and a community within that audience for those people that makes the guys who are fans of that feel so alienated. The way that I feel alienated by Joe Rogan Bros, and I don't get it. I want to make a community and a space where they look over across, the hallway. They're like, I don't get it. And it's like, yeah, you don't get it because it's not for you. So I feel like that's, and I think, to some success, that is happening. And I feel like it's kind of cool to like be talking about these things as they're happening in real time. Because it's like, I know 5 or 6 years ago, I would have done anything to do comedy full time. And I'm doing comedy full time now. And that's awesome to be at that point. And I feel like I'm still like largely unknown and like, like a smaller indie artist. But like, to be able to pay my bills, that was my goal. So I've achieved that goal. So it's like, okay, how can we think bigger? How can we do more? Because ultimately, like, the whole reason why I wanted to succeed at this in the first place is because I went to an open mic as somebody who had moved to Chicago and was still a theater artist, and I didn't see anybody who had a story like mine get on that stage. I didn't see anybody who looked like me or thought like me performing, and I wasn't okay with that, because I was like, if this is the open mic, forget the show. There's probably not anybody who looks like me or thinks like me on the show if nobody's in the room at the mic. And that was just me, like, I was at a mic just to see what I wasn't planning to perform, and I didn't perform that night. I was really just kind of like getting the lay of the land. And yeah, for me, it's always been about, because I'm stubborn, just because this is what it's been, and just because this is the norm, doesn't mean there isn't room for something different, and isn't room to create a community for people who want to see something different, have something different to say, and want to feel represented and seen when they go to a show. Yeah.
And you are a breath of fresh air when we watch you perform. It's nice because you're right. You go up to an open mic or any comedy show, it's dick joke, fart joke, sex joke.
And I make those jokes too,
Oh,
but
they're
it's
fun.
like, yeah,
They're fun.
I love those jokes, but it's like, for me, it's like,
Take them out of the norm.
yeah, how can we make it new? How can we make it new? Because it's like, I mean, it's funny to me because it's like one of my favorite musicals that came out recently. It's not actually that recently, it's years ago now, but like when Hadestown came out and somebody told me about the premise, I was like, oh, they're recreating a Greek myth. Like, come on, we don't have any new. But then I listened to it. I let my ego get out of the way. I actually listened to it and I'm like, oh, they did do something new and exciting with this. And so it's like, I don't want anybody at home to get confused. I love dick jokes. I love sex. Like, all of those jokes can be really good, but it's like, can you make it a new idea or a new take on that? When you start to have so many people oversaturating and saying the same thing and doing the same thing, that's when I'm like it just, because, especially at the time that we're in, with everything being so heavy and so difficult, we have this opportunity to create these spaces for people who are feeling heavy and feeling things that are difficult to have a moment of like exhale and levity. And part of that is having a new thing to say and having a unique thing to say. And I think for newer comics especially, and I did this too, you try to imitate the comics you look up to in your writing and in your delivery. But the moment you start getting really clear about what makes me different, what do I have to say, that's when you're going to find success. Because like there's like so many people trying to do comedy and trying to do any entertainment art form, so it's like you kind of have to lean into what makes you different to stand out. And I think that it's funny because you talked about like what changed during the pandemic. I remember I ordered these glasses, not these exact ones, but I have a few different versions of these frames in different colors. And because it was the pandemic, you couldn't go to the stores as easily. And so I remember I ordered my glasses online and they came in the mail and these glasses came. I pulled them out, I put them on. And like my now husband at the time, he was like, those are ridiculous. You look so stupid. And it hurt me in the moment, but I like looked in the mirror. I was like, no, these are bad as hell. I love it. And so it's like, I feel like it was almost like, I don't like want to make this exact comparison, but it's like when Jim Carrey in The Mask puts on the mask. Like, I feel like it's like I put on the glasses and I was like, oh, this is my personality now. And it's like, it's always my personality, but it was like, I think it like, it's always been my personality, but I feel like I just started to become more myself during the pandemic because I didn't have the distractions to be anybody else. Like when you have to sit with yourself for that long and you're only seeing 4 to 5 other people, you kind of get really intimately aware of who you are. And yeah, I think that's like, as much as we all want professional success and like these accolades or these opportunities or these things, for me, what I always try to go back to when I'm like feeling down or I'm feeling stuck or like, thinking too hard about like this venue or this show or that, like this opportunity. I started this because I walked into the mic and I didn't see anybody that looked like me. And so it's like, I have to keep going because there are people who are even more marginalized than me who I want to feel brave enough to do this. And I know that that's not like funny or it's more sincere, but it is really how I feel. Is like by being, brave enough to continue doing that. And it's like, it's not been the easiest in terms of like, especially being a woman online. Like I've gotten death threats. I've gotten weird creeps from the internet will come to my show and like put me in unsafe situations. And that's why it's gotten to the point where it's like I very carefully you know, like pick who's coming with me and contact the venues and make sure that like I'm never in a situation where I'm alone. But I'm not gonna quit over that. You know what I mean? Because it's like no, you're not gonna intimidate me out of doing something that I should be able to do and I'm good at doing just because I'm a woman. I refuse to let that be the world we live in. I know that it is to some degree, but it's like I won't accept that. Like I won't. I'll find a way around it. That's always been my attitude about it.
What do you think is the worst criticism you've ever received, and how do you deal with it?
Oh man, worst criticism I've ever received. I remember I did this festival that was like a competition a few years back. I think it was like 2022. And I did my set. And I got off stage, and a guy who lived in the town the festival was, who wasn't on the festival. He's just like there, you know, trying to network, hang. We're all hanging after the show. And he's like, you know, you don't need to do the songs. You could just say the jokes. And I was like, yeah, but you were there in the room, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, people like the songs. He's like, well, of course people like songs. And I was like, are you upset because you can't do the songs? And then he was like, well, I don't need the songs. I can just tell. I'm like, yeah. And I can just tell jokes too, as you saw. But there's this other thing that I can also do. And the shit fucking works. Because I'm in the festival and you're not. I didn't say that, but it's like, you know, that was like, I mean, yeah, I just kind of like let it roll off my back. And it's one of those things where it's like, I think it's like, and this is probably because I'm a theater kid, because I'm a people pleaser, this, that, or the other. I'm very grateful for the fact that like the meanest criticisms you could say to me, I've probably already thought to myself. I'm very hard on myself. So it's like a lot of times like I will just let stuff roll off. Like I remember I was touring this summer and I was in a city and a guy that I had met last time I was there came up to me and was like, oh, you've been writing. Like trying to be like, you finally have a new thing. You know what I mean? And I didn't even in the moment, I didn't, you know, take it that way. I was just like, oh yeah, I have, thanks. And like my friend who was touring with me was like, I almost crashed out. He had no right to say that to you. That was so disrespectful. And I was like, oh, people say stuff like that to me all the time. So it's like, it's almost like, I guess, like, how do I cope? I'm more just like, if something's hurtful in the moment, I'm like, I'll put that away for later and we'll work through that later. But it's like, I guess I've kind of had to develop this attitude of like, this is what it is. It's not going to stop. And so I have to be stronger and better than it. And I know that that's like not hopeful and inspirational for any of the, you know, like female, queer, marginalized people at home. But it's like, I even like an example. Oh, this wasn't even necessarily critique, but it's like, when I was touring in December, I went to a venue. The person who was running my show was so rude to me. And like my friend was co-headlining with me. And so it was like, I looked at her, I was like, am I crazy? And she's like, no, that was so out of line. Like I asked the person's name. They said their name. I said it back to them. They were like, that's not what I said. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm hard of hearing. Could you repeat that? And they said it again. And I was like, oh, this? And they're like, no, it's this. And it was the first thing that I had said. And I was like, oh, I said that. And they're like, no, you didn't. You said Jamie. And then my friend who I'm co-headlining with, and she's like, no. She said her name was Jamie. And she said your name. And then it's like, so yeah, he was like right out the gate, like not nice, even though we were like going to be headlining that night because we were coming in from out of town. So he didn't know us. We do the show, do really well on the show. Completely different attitude. 180. And I have experienced that everywhere I've ever gone. And it's like, that's why, like, if you're listening at home and you produce a show, you run a room, it costs nothing to be respectful to people. People shouldn't have to prove themselves as funny for you to treat them with respect. Like, you don't have to book somebody that you haven't seen if they're funny or not, but you don't have to be rude to people. That's what is the thing that, like, more than critique, like that's what bothers me, is seeing how somebody will act completely different after they've seen me perform than they acted before they saw me perform. And I've even had like, I remember I was like off stage, like getting ready to go on to headline. And like an open micer that was doing the mic before my show was like, oh, like this might be your first time, but like just relax. It's gonna be like, thought I was doing the mic. And then imagine, you know, the look on his face when they're like, give it up for your headliners. And then I watched the color leave this man's face. And after that, he's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, you've never met. But it's like, yeah, I would just say, like, don't act crazy to people you don't know. Like, just because you don't know somebody doesn't mean they're not worthy of respect. It's the same way of, like, if I was calling customer service, even if I'm really freaking frustrated, I'm not going to take it out on them because they're not the CEO of the corporation. Like, it's just be kind to people. Like, you don't have to be nice. Don't let people walk all over you and be like fake. But like, unless somebody blatantly disrespects you, there's no reason to be disrespectful to somebody just because you don't know them.
Sure. Now, on the flip side of that, what do you think is your proudest moment as a performer?
Okay, I have a couple. I'm so sorry, everyone at home. I am getting over my asthma. But anyway, and it's funny, I did the inhaler while they were, when you guys did the tattoo conversation, you guys couldn't, maybe you could see on camera, but I was just like, okay, ADHD coming out, back on topic, proudest moments. Couple. First one is I took a complete risk on myself and I went to NACA, which is like the conferences where you get college work without any representation, completely like paid out of pocket. Cause like my grandma got sick, she passed away. She left me some money. It wasn't a lot of money. We're from Indiana. We don't, like we're, middle class, whatever. But her, like, one of the things she said to me before she passed away is like, when I die, you have to use that money for your comedy because I want you to make it happen. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to get NACA because that's like a great way to get like more consistent, well-paid work. And I remember it was like a month out and I was like, I don't fucking know if this is gonna work out. And basically, like, I went, me and my best friend Alexi Yeager, we like set up my booth. We talked to all these students and got them to vote for me so I could go on the showcase. I did the showcase and I ended up getting like my first 7 paid college gigs from that conference. And I left with a college agent. And it was just like one of those things where it's like, people are like, how did you do it? I want to do what you did. And I'm like, you can do what I did, but I really do think it's like a huge gamble. Like I took a huge risk because it costs a lot of money. I happen to have that money because of, those family events that happen. But I was so proud that it worked out how it worked out because I took a really big financial risk and having it pay off and set me up so that I can just do comedy full time was really special because it's like, who knows if I waited around for an agent to pick me up or for somebody to believe in me. I believed in myself. So I was like, let's do it, And I don't think I think I would say there are sometimes people who believe in themselves and they aren't ready yet. But I think that for me, I am grateful that I have the shyness that I have because when I do feel like, okay, I got this, I'm usually more than ready. I'm usually like gonna soar because I am so hard on myself. That was said. Cool. My next one. And it's funny because it's like neither of these things that I'm saying are really like concrete, like I got this award or this, show or this credit. The other one that was really cool to me is this is the first time I ever set up my own tour. It was back in like, I want to say 2019, the fall, right before the pandemic. I set up my own tour and I was doing like driving like around the South and looping back up to Chicago. And I had a headlining show in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'd never been to Alabama. And I had my preconceived notions of what Alabama was going to be like. And I was like shitting a brick the whole day driving there because I was like, I don't think these people are going to like me. I don't think they're going to like what I have to say. But I can't change I can't change myself or my jokes. I have to do what I, have to do. And so I get to Alabama. I do this show. And again, this is like years ago. So I probably had like maybe like 2,000 followers online at this point in time. I get off stage. This woman with her 2 daughters comes up to me, like teenage daughters, comes up to me and she's crying. And so I'm kind of scared because I'm like, what the? She's crying and she's like, you are crazy, but I love you. Thank you so much. My daughter watches your TikToks every single day. You know, we drove from, she tells me this town is 2.5 hours away. So it's like they had to drive 2.5 hours to see me, 2.5 hours back. And she like pulls me aside and she's like, my daughter, you know, like my daughter is queer. We're here in Alabama. Nobody like you ever comes here. Thank you for coming. You know, please never quit. Because, like, I know that you have a small base right now and you're, like, just getting started, but, like, you've helped my kids so much. Like, please don't quit. And for me, like, for that to go so completely different than how I thought it was going to go and be so aligned with why I started in the first place, that will probably be my proudest moment forever. And I think about that often when I do feel like quitting, because it's like, we all have moments where we feel, I mean, anybody, you get tired, but it's like, back before I even really like had it together, like I wasn't very good back then. I, you know, was trying out touring and da-da-da-da. But like, I've grown so much since then. And to like, even before I really was good, to impact somebody in that way, it's like, yeah, I want to see this through. And that's honestly what means a lot to me more than anything is like, I know that like credits are cool and accolades are cool, but like to have somebody be like, what you do affected me in a positive way. That's why I do it. And that means more to me than anything. That's like why I want to continue doing it. And I think that like anybody who's truly an artist feels that way. Like that's why you make the art you make, is you want to affect people the way that like your life experiences have affected you, you know? And it's like, even in the painful moments, I think it's like, they say comedy is tragedy plus time. The time is what allows you to look back at those things with love. And you can put that love out into the world by giving people the opportunity to like, you know, laugh at your demise. Because they probably have similar demise. We all do. That's like the part of the human experience. You say we're all walking each other home. It's like, yeah, I think that to me, like, this is my way of walking people home. And so, yeah, that's why I think that those are probably my top 2.
That was beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
You're going to choked up here, man. You crying? I'm not
I already cried.
That was really sweet. That was really incredible. That's a cool story.
Thank you. No, I do think it's like, I always feel so awkward on podcasts because I'm a comedian, but then I think that when I show people like how I really am, I am very sincere and intense. I have like a few funny lines here and there, but then I'm like, here's this really heartfelt, sincere story about why I do this. So thank you.
And, you know, hopefully your third proudest moment is yet to come, right?
From your mouth to God's ears. Okay.
Throw it into the universe. Where would you like to be, you know, 5-10 years down the line?
Oh man, 5-10 years from now. I like for me, I want to be in a position where excuse me, where I make the kind of money touring that I can like call my friend up and be like, hey, you want to come to Tacoma for the weekend? And so it's like, yeah, I can like tour with my friends, have like a rotating group of comedians I work with, and like, it provides them income. It provides me income. And really it's like somebody was, a comedian I really look up to, Leon Rogers, was talking about like the 5 P's of, like being successful. And the last one's philanthropy. Like there's 4 other ones that are like part of like your like process, patience, I'm forgetting the other 4. Sorry, Leon. But philanthropy is really important to me because it's like right now I make enough money, but I like would like to make more so that I can pour it back into the community, because I think a lot of people who have all of the money and resources don't give a shit about us. And I'm always going to give a shit about us. Like, I don't care, like, if I get to a point where I make, that will not change about me. I feel very Bernie in that way. I will always want to give back to the communities that I care about, because I think that it's like, that's how we change the world, really, is the people who have the resources care to share those resources with the community. And I think that that's like, for me, any kind of like monetary career success would be with that in mind. As I was like, I would like to be, like known in my field and respected in my field. I think like for me, like I want to have a big audience, but I don't necessarily need to have like for me, it's like, we talked about Drake earlier. I don't need to be Drake. I would rather be Kendrick.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
You understand what I'm saying with that? Like I don't necessarily need to be very popular mainstream and be putting out like commercial hits that are respected by the industry, but it's like that's somebody who like you look at his discography and his artwork and you're like, this man is underrated because he's great at what he does. And like that's more what I'm looking to have and build is like people acknowledge that like, oh, this woman consistently works very hard and really cares about the people that she entertains, and like just like tries to like put good into the world. And I probably will mess it, especially like I think the thing too is like probably 5 to 10 years from now I'll have the Jennifer Lawrence experience of like people will really like me and then I'll do one thing wrong and they'll hate me, and then 2 weeks like I feel like that's like I want to have the level of success that I get to have that experience as a woman, because I think every woman that's ever been in the public eye goes through that cycle of being beloved, being cast out, and then just kind of reviving and going to a more normal, like it's like, oh, and then just normal.
Well-behaved women seldom make history.
Oh yeah, that's the well-behaved women said. And honestly, that's my. I mean,
break some rules. I'm with you.
I agree.
I'm a feminist. Like, come on.
And I love that. I love that for you.
Thanks. It was my mom's doing. No, but
moms will do that. Sorry.
I also wanted to ask you too. You had mentioned before about your hearing loss, and I was kind of hoping maybe you would talk about that. Like, how did you discover that later in your life, and how did it affect your life, and how did you cope with it?
Yeah. How
do you strive in it? I should ask.
Yeah. So I found out about my hearing loss when I was 24. I'm 32 now. I know I look amazing. No, I'm kidding. I know. I looked like me, but so I was 24. I was doing my master's in Scotland, and I was really struggling in class to understand what my professors were saying because of the thick accents. I really just didn't know what was going on a lot of the time. Like I felt like they were speaking another language. And my friend,
almost is. It's hard to understand.
It's really hard to understand. Yeah. And my friend who was on the course with me was like, Jamie, like I'm not trying to be mean, but like, have you ever considered like I think you might be deaf? Because there's times when I'm talking to you and you like do not look up. It's like you have no idea. And I was like, oh, I'd never considered that. Let me go. And so I went, I got a test taken at the pharmacy. They were like, yeah, you have some hearing loss. We'll write you, like a recommendation to see a specialist. And I'm thinking like, okay, like how bad could it be? I get to the specialist. The specialist literally starts crying because he's like, you have 90% hearing loss in both ears. And you're a musician and a performer. Like, this is really sad. Like, this could have been prevented if you would have gotten hearing aids when you were younger. It really makes me upset with your country's healthcare system. And I'm like, sweet. Yeah. So I was like,
and I'm proud to be an American.
We're at least, we can talk about that more in a second, but it's like, yeah. So I get the hearing aids through the NHS. They're completely free, which is like so cool. I'm rocking those for a bit. I come back to the States a couple years later. My dog at the time, the dog didn't die. It's like my ex-husband kept the dog, but like dog at the time chewed one of the hearing aids. And so I had to replace them both here in America. Oh, no. Ended up finding out through that process, hearing aids are in the same category in the American healthcare system as plastic surgery.
What?
They are elective devices. If you're under 65, they're elective devices. And they cost $2,500 each.
Jesus Christ.
So it's like I had to. So I had to take out like $5,000 in credit to replace my hearing aids, because you can't just replace one. You have to get them as a set. It's like AirPods, and so now like I've paid off my hearing aids. I actually am on like my second pair, because like after a certain amount of time, I lost, like, when we had to do the masks during the pandemic. I was on the bus and I took my mask off and one of them fell out. And so it's like, but I'm very smart in terms of like my audiologist suggested I get them insured, which is like, yeah, you should get, if you have $5,000 worth of, audio equipment, you should get it insured. And so like, I'm on my third pair now. But my point being, it's going to get worse. Like they've told me many times, and I should start taking ASL, and I have made some efforts to learn ASL, but, I feel like it's just like with ADHD, I always get so distracted, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I need to learn this. And then it's like, I don't learn it, but it's like, I am really this year trying to prioritize learning it, because I do think it would help a lot to be able to like tap into that community. And yeah, so it's like, I guess I cope with it by like wearing my hearing aids and just like trying to prevent further loss in terms of like when I'm at music shows, I'll put in, like earplugs. But the loss is actually, like, I've lost my hearing in the same way that elderly people, as you get older, the nerves just die. Mine just started dying a lot sooner. They think that it started when I was 12, which is funny because it's like, yeah, I didn't find out until I was 24. That's like, I think my parents just thought I was like aloof, which I am a little aloof, but it's like a lot of it was, I was deaf. Like, it was like, I just didn't hear. People were talking to me. And I remember like, and I joke about this on stage now, but it's like my college best friend and I, we had a horrible falling out senior year because he was like, you don't listen to me. I don't feel heard by you. And then like 2 years later, I'm like, oh, I'm deaf. Like I post online like, hey, everybody, just found out I have 90% hearing loss. I remember he like called me. He's like, bitch, you don't listen. Like you can't. And I was like, yeah, I medically can't listen. So,
My fault.
Yeah, it's like I like the hearing aids though, because it's like they're kind of like AirPods for disabled people. Like they do Bluetooth to my phone, so I can like listen to my music and my podcast, and they're very discreet. So like I could just be listening to something and people won't know. I try not to do, like, I'm not rude. Like if somebody's talking to me, I'm not like listening to a podcast. But it's like, yeah, it's nice to be like on a walk listening to my it's nice that, and it's nice that I've like paid them off and they're insured. So it's like, I'm kind of like set. If anything happens in the future, I'm like, okay, I have these,
You have like chill vibes playing. Like
Yes.
study home,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Sounds nice. Now, what do you think caused it, if you don't mind me asking?
So basically, we're pretty sure it's like hereditary. So somebody it's funny because I thought it was like on my dad's side, but then my mom was like, oh, JK, it's on my side for sure. I was like, okay, well, like, cool. So I think it's a thing where it's like, I have it. And like, if I have kids, I don't know if I'm gonna have kids, but like, if I had kids, they would not have it, but their kids might have it. I think it's like every other generation. It's just like it's like a gene where it's like some people get it, some people don't. But yeah, I guess that like my mom's dad's mom had the same thing I have. And I'm like, okay, like that is something that we should have absolutely been wary of when I was, coming up. But
you don't always think those things are passed down,
Yeah, no, I think that was it. I think that they're just like, yeah, we didn't think about it being an issue. And I'm like, I wish you would. But then it's one of those things where it's like, would I have wanted, like, would I have been resistant to wearing hearing aids as a 12, you know what I mean? You're like, you're 12, you're in middle school, you're like, no, I don't want to look like a freak. It was like, especially back in like 2000, whatever, I'm sure that they were like, Yeah. So it's like, I'm like, okay, like it's pros and cons. I mean, obviously losing 90% of your hearing is a pretty huge con, but I'm like, okay, like everything happens for a reason. Hopefully, I can maintain what I have left is essentially the goal.
I would encourage you to tap into that the ASL, especially with comedy. There's totally a crowd out there for it.
Yes. And I've been very lucky in terms of like, so when I did Don't Tell in Pittsburgh, and the first night I was there, we did the show at the Pittsburgh, I think it's like a club or an organization for deaf people. And so when I was doing my stand-up, there was an ASL interpreter who like interpreted my set as I was performing. And a lot of people, like I think probably like half the people in the audience were hard of hearing and the other half were, you know, like not hard of hearing. And so it was just really cool also to just see like what different people laughed at and what different people, like it was very fun. And like with me doing the music stuff, I know it's like they have to feel the vibration, because it's like, yeah, a lot of times like especially when I'm struggling with like making a beat, I'll sometimes just try to like feel it, and I think it's like that almost heightens it. And I think of like Lin-Manuel Miranda, not him, but whoever helped with the arrangements for Hamilton also has hearing loss. And so I do think it sometimes like really can enhance your music ability. Or maybe it's just because there's like a famous, was Bach deaf? Who was deaf? Beethoven?
Beethoven was deaf.
Yes.
Ray Charles was blind.
But yeah, I do think it's like, it like heightens your sense. I do think, I mean, obviously like not every single person is going to be inclined, but it is like, I think it's cool when people who have that disability still are really musically talented. And it's like, I think it's something that like I have that ability and I wonder why. And I think it's because I'm able to like kind of like just feel it out. Even if I can't hear the pitch as well as, you know, like a person with different hearing, I'm like, oh, I can, you know, figure out where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, they do say when you like lose a sense, like your other senses are like heightened, you know what I mean? So that's why you have like those musicians that are like hard of hearing or deaf or like blind or whatever. Their other senses are like, oh, it's fucking heightened now.
Do you find that true with yourself?
With other stuff?
Are any of your other senses heightened?
I mean, I feel like I'm unlucky duck of like my vision's bad, my hearing's bad. I definitely have good taste and smell. I think for like, I will smell things before other people do for sure. And I love food. So I think obviously I like to taste, but it's like, yeah, I like I'm like, what does that smell? And people will be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you don't smell that? It's horrible. Like, so yeah, I wonder if that's why, because my vision and my hearing are not great. Maybe that's why my smell is like so up. Yeah, but I said that I'm like,
it's probably not helping with this cough. You said you were just traveling. You picked something up, perhaps. Where were you just traveling from?
So I was in Ethiopia because my friend's cousin was getting married. And yes, I do think, unfortunately, it was like I got back a week ago, and on my way back, I realized as I was on the 16-hour flight that I had a little tickle. And so I went to the doctor immediately. As soon as I got home, I was like, doctor. And they were like, oh, you got like some upper respiratory stuff going on. And so, yeah, they gave me like, I mean, I have been given like pre-insurance value, like $200 worth of medications that I've been taking for a week. And it's working. Everything has been cleared out. And they said after 2 days, I think it was after 3 days, they're like, you're good to go. But the issue is like with anything upper respiratory, when they dry out the other stuff, now I'm dealing with the issue of like everything's dried out. So it's like I still sometimes have like the tickle, or like if I breathe in too much air, but it's like the phlegm is gone and now it's just dryness. But me describing the symptoms of my upper respiratory infection aside, Ethiopia was very fun. I think it's like one of those things where
aside from the shooting, how was the show, Mrs. Lincoln?
I would say Ethiopia was amazing. I do feel like it's like one of the things I wasn't prepared for is like going on a family trip with a family that you're not a member of the family. Like you're the friend, you're the guest. Is like, yeah, it's like you are gonna be very much thrown in the deep end as far as like family dynamic. It's similar to like when you were a kid and you would go over to your friend's house and you like, you know, like hear the parents in the kitchen bickering, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's not literally what happened. I'm using that as an example, but it was just like a lot of moments of like, okay, I'm adapting to like, who's this person? And I even like, I got to the point where I was like, I would still love to sit down and like have a piece of construction paper and map out how everyone's related. Because everyone was being called cousin and aunt and uncle. And I was like, I want to see the family tree of like who is related to who and how. But it was, I mean, the thing that I found the most exciting and cool is there was like 3 weddings while I was there. Like they had the wedding and then they had like 2 other parties, receptions while I was there. And like, I'm divorced. And it was hard enough to come to the decision to get divorced after 6 years and the 1 wedding. So I'm like, how, like, you, like, if you've done like 3 to 5 ceremonies in front of your family, like, I wonder, like, is that for insurance to make sure nobody gets divorced? Because it's like, I do wonder, like, what's worse, like getting left at the altar or getting left before the 5th wedding? You know, like, which one is more hurtful? I don't know. But, like, no, I will say, like, the couple whose wedding I attended, they were very much in love. It was very cute. And it was, I mean, it was like unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. It was really incredible. That was my lens, though, as a divorced woman. I was like, I can't imagine, like, doing this many things and then being like, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. Like, I feel like before I went through that, I would have to be so sure. I'd have to be like, yes, 100%. Nothing is going to go awry here. But also, I think that that's part of why my other advice for the listeners at home and for both of you, I don't know your age. I know you're under 30. I don't think anybody should get married unless they are over 30. And I think that you should live with somebody before you marry them.
100%.
Yes, those are my 2 takeaway life lesson moments.
Are you seeing anyone now?
No, I had the way I was just like, no, I had okay, so after I got divorced, I dated this dude for like 7 months, ended in heartbreak because we just had, our values weren't aligned. Because, like, he was a polyamorous man, but he didn't want to wear condoms with other partners. And I wasn't comfortable with that because I was like, I'm not dating those people. And, like, you know, however you want to practice your polyamory, go off, kings, queens, theys, thems, like, do what you want to do. But for me, it was just like, I realized, like, okay, that's not aligned with like what I want or what I see for my future. So I was just like, yeah, it's just not going to work. So like we had different values, didn't work out. It was very sad because I really wanted to, you know, be with this person and for it to work out, but it didn't. So I was like, I'm not going to date for a while. Like, I think it was like 2 months later, my friends make so much fun of me for this because it was like, I was like, I'm done. I'm staying inside. No more. 2 months later, I started dating, not even dating. I got into a situationship with my friend of 7 years. Oh boy. And now he's blocked on all platforms. So it's like, yeah, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it was one of those, it was one of those summers where I was like, we need to sit down. We need to figure out why I consistently chase after dudes who do not like me and do not want me. And it's not even just dudes, like people. Like, I'm so attracted to a motherfucker that does not want me. And I cannot get on stage and say the things I say and embody the things that I stand for and believe in and have such polar opposite tastes when it comes to dating. So I was like, we gotta figure this out. We gotta work this out. Like, I can't be on stage like self-love, take up space, and then like chasing a dude who treats me like a roach. Like, that's not, it's not. And at least I'm self-aware enough to admit that like that's what was happening. And so we're putting dating to rest until I figure out how to not be attracted to that.
What qualifies the perfect mate?
The perfect mate for me. I was talking to my therapist about this actually. LOL. So my therapist would like me to pursue somebody who validates me and makes me feel safe, and who I feel heard and understood by. I agree with all those things. I also would like to be attracted to them. And it's one of those things that's like, it's a balance because like I do love banter, I do love roast, but it's like, I feel like the balance has to be there of like, you know, like you build this world where you feel safe and secure and there's trust and respect. And then there can be little pranks and little bits and you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like it's like, my ideal person at this point in my life, when I'm ready to date again, because I'm not right now, I do think I really would need to feel the security and the safety there. So like I basically need to be with somebody who has a secure attachment style. I think another anxious attachment person, because I'm an anxious attachment person, to me it's like holding a mirror up to me and I'm like, oh, that's too much. But like I tend to be attracted to people who are avoidant, and I don't think that is something I can continue to, like if I'm reaching out for connection and they're running away. So yeah, I think it's a thing where it's like I know what I don't want. And so what I do want is the opposite of what I don't. But I should focus on what I do want, because I think by focusing on what I don't want, I'm probably manifesting and calling it more of the don't want.
Right.
And I'm working this all out in real time with my friends here at Hawks Twins.
We're matchmakers here. No, I think it's important to, most first and foremost is to love yourself before you can love somebody else. Then you really know what you want, what you don't want, what you deserve too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a humbling thing. Outside of comedy, what do you like to do outside of comedy, and what makes you happy in life? What's your poison? What do you like to do?
What I like to do outside of comedy, I really am into coloring right now. I got some adult coloring books for Christmas, and I've been coloring a lot. I love walking. It's hard right now because it's so cold out that it is upsetting my lungs. But I'd like to go on long walks around my neighborhood, or right now because of the weather, I'll just go walk inside of Target.
Hell yeah!
I don't buy anything. I just lap Target like a Silver Sneakers grandmother.
You ever do that at the mall?
I did, and I wish
I
that
like doing it at the mall. It's fun.
If there was an actual mall here, I would do it again. But it's I feel like the closest I can get to that is Target, so I'll lap Target. What else do I love? I love seeing live music. I'm really this year. I'm trying to put myself out there more in terms of going and seeing more live bands that are local to Chicago. Excuse me. I love eating, so I love going out to eat. Dive bars. I also love to just this is kind of elite and rare, but somebody that I've been friends with for 5 or more years, a hangout where we just sit on one of our couches and put a show on, but then just to be on our phones while the show is on. That's my favorite. I love that so much. Somebody that will just let me brain rot with them, like a nonverbal hangout. Oh, and I love those crane games, the claw and you get the stuffed animals. Yeah. I love those. Yeah, I feel like those are probably my main hobbies and interests at this point in my life.
All right, yeah. So on a Saturday, you're going out to the dive bar that has the claw machine. What's your drink of choice? What's your poison?
I would either have these are my top. These are probably the 3 interchangeable. It's usually one of these 3. I'll do an espresso martini, a vodka soda water, or a Jameson on the rocks. Those are my 3 go-tos. Anything else that I'm drinking, it would be because somebody bought me that drink, or when people are let's do shots. I'm fine. I always want because it's I said, over 30. Why are you? I'm you want me dead. You hate me. You want to do a shot at this hour. You want me to pass away. You want me to die in the street like a dog. Why would you ask me to do that? I gastrointestinally can no longer make these kind of decisions. I'll do it though. I will do it because I just want to prove to myself that I can, but I shouldn't, it's not.
God forbid it's Malort.
Oh God.
That too. Oh my God. It's funny because literally, I'm not going to say what I did, but the last bad decision I made was because my friend at the bar was let's do Malort shots.
That's how it always starts.
And I was because I knew I'm about to fuck up my whole life tonight. And I did. Viewers at home, don't be like me. If you're going to do a Malort shot, you need to have a babysitter. Somebody needs to put your phone in a cage. They need to they need to escort you home, put you into your bed, tuck you in your bed, make sure no funny business is happening. My friends didn't do that, and so there was funny business did occur. But you know, what did you say earlier? It's like sometimes you just you do too much.
You know, it happens. I don't think I've ever made a good decision while no good night has ever started with let's take Malort shots. It usually ends on a bad note for me. After one Malort shot, who knows how many I'm gonna take.
Yeah, no, I just steer clear of it.
Do you have like a before show ritual that you like to do?
I feel like it kind of varies. I feel like lately I've really loved listening. Like I do like to try to put on like the motivational like Glorilla or like Megan Thee Stallion music, and I'll just kind of like pace around. Like if it's a bigger show, I'll do that. And there's no big shows and no small shows, but if I'm feeling more nervous, if I've made the show a bigger deal in my mind, because every show is a show, but some shows you make a bigger deal in your mind, that's when I'm like, okay, I need to be alone and listen to my music and like calm down. I will generally try to make a list of the order I'm going to do. Whether or not I stick to that is a completely different thing. And then, yeah, it's like, I feel like depending on the vibe in the green room, I'll either like hang and talk to the comics in the green room, or I'll like go isolate myself somewhere. Like if the green room vibe is horrible, that's when I will be alone listening to my music. But if it's a fun vibe, then it's like I'll talk to people up until like, oh, it's time for me to go on stage. Let me, you know. So I think it really just depends where I'm at, what the vibe is. Yeah.
For your set, do you write your music as well and the jokes at the same? Like, how do you incorporate the music into the jokes?
Oh, sure. So I it's sort of like I kind of do like an every other thing where it's like I'll do like probably like 2 to 4 minutes of jokes, like spoken jokes, and then I'll go into a song that's like no more than 3 minutes, and then another, you know, like, so it's like it goes back and forth between the two. And then for the songs, usually like I'll tell a joke that sets up a situation, and then I'll be like, DJ hit it, and then I'll go into the song, and then like I'll come out of the song like with a transition to a new idea, or like I'll finish. Like I guess the example I could give of a moment I'm working with right now is I do a joke where I say like, I got divorce advice from reddit.com and it wasn't very good advice. Like this is one of the things it said, and this is another one of the things it said, and this thing said that I should like explore my grief creatively. So I wrote a song. Let me do it for you. And then I do the song. And when the song's over, everybody's like, woo. I'm like, and then the next thing said I should do witchcraft. So it's like, yeah, I'll like come out of the song with like finishing the idea. Whereas like I have another one where it's like, I say like, hey, I want to get to know y'all, make some noise if you've ever hooked up with or dated somebody with a drinking problem. And then I do a song that's like, the lyrics are like, I'm so wet because you pissed the bed. Which is like, honestly, it's one of the ones people like the most. And then usually when that one's over, I'm like, thanks so much. That's my Britney Spears impression.
That's
and
funny.
then I go into something completely different. So it's like, it really kind of just, yeah, it really like how I set up and end the songs. It depends on the song, but I think with the songs, one thing I haven't said yet that I think is important is I do try to make the song, the sound of it, either like lean into the joke or oppose the joke. So it's like on Corn Baby, which you saw some of, my first song I do is a rap about how I loved cows when I was a kid. And so it's like, there's something silly about that. Like to rap about loving cattle is the opposite of like the vibe of rap music. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, I have a very like 1960s upbeat sounding song called Kill All the Men that actually got banned from youtube.com. So they you know, I think I upset enough incel men that somebody reported me because they don't understand satire. Like, I'm sorry.
People get offended so easily nowadays.
And that's the thing is like somebody got my video taken down and then like threatened my life, and I was scared, but then I thought about it, and my friend made this point. She's like, honestly, it would be horrible if you died, and I'd be really sad, but if anything, like if they were to do that to you, it would just prove the point you were trying to make in the song. Right. And I was like, honestly, you're right. Like you threatening me is proving the point that I was trying to make, which is that I, as a loudmouth bitch, am not safe well, men who think like you exist. And I think that is obviously satire and obviously a joke, especially because it was like, the thing that was so funny to me is the video that got taken off of YouTube. It wasn't like me singing it, or it was animated. Like my friend animated it. It was like little cartoons, and they're like, "This is hate speech," and I'm like,
and the Highland Park shooters just like all over YouTube, like,
or like Elon Musk just the other day at the inauguration.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
There's videos of that everywhere. That's not banned. But my animated satire video about killing all the men, like. YouTube, we know whose side.
World right now.
We live in a weird world right now.
Do you ever feel like you just hit your head and you were just like, you just kind of woke up here and you're like, this is actually.
What timeline am I living on, chat?
I know. I keep wanting to, like, I feel like I keep finding myself like looking at the lamp. Like, I don't know if you've seen on TikTok the lamp thing. There's like a theory that like it might be creepypasta or it might have really happened. Again, it's like TikTok. I don't know. Is it a fictional story? Is it real?
Who knows?
I never know. But the story goes that there's a guy who, like, he fell out of school, hit his head. Like, while at college, hit his head. Like, came to, this woman was like, are you okay? Like, another girl at the college. They ended up, like, they hit it off. They started dating, fell in love. They have kids. They have a whole family. It's, like, freaking 20 years later, I think. He's sitting there, glances at the lamp. The lamp starts to look funny. And it like opens a portal and he falls through it. He wakes up back passed out at the college campus. Like none of that happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I believe that because there's stories of like people taking like DMT and stuff like that and like just getting into like this really big like just psychedelic space in their head where in reality in like this universe it's only been like 10-15 minutes, but then they come back from their trip and they're like, well, it's been years in my head already. Like I had a whole family, like I had a job, and like I was in my head, I was living this completely different life. And you know, in this world, it's been 15 minutes. They come back, and it's all like, oh shit, what the fuck am I doing here? So I believe stuff like that happens all the time.
And it's another one that I read about was like a woman when she would go to sleep. Like in her dreams, there was like this village that she lived in her dreams, and she had like a whole family and all these things there. And then like one night, like the village got destroyed, and then she like never dreamed of it again.
What?
It was like for 15 years, she would like when she was sleeping, she would have like repetitive like almost like she was living like lucid. The life that was in her dreams and the life that was in real, like going back and forth between the two. I truly feel like there's the parallel universe thing of like every choice we make puts us in the timeline we're in, and so there's got to be like a million different timelines. Yeah. And it's like I've never done DMT, but I didn't do mushrooms for like years. I was scared to do them because the first psychedelic I ever did was salvia.
Oh shit, we were talking about that the other day.
I freaked out. In my trip, all of my friends were wearing white jumpsuits with orange polka dots, and their noses had become elephant trunks, but they were still like flesh colored. And they were showing me, it's on salvia, and they were showing me how everything in my life was just a movie set, like none of it was real. And they were like, yeah, they were walking me through like my high school, my house, the house we were in, my friend's house. Like they like literally like it was like they zoomed me out and were showing me how it's like it's all a set, like it's not real,
like the Truman Show.
And then I like came to in the bathroom and I was like, the bathroom's real. And then I was like, Jamie, you just did drugs. Like that's what I'm like. And I was like, and I remember being like, that was the coolest thing I've ever experienced, but I'm never doing that again. Like that was too scary for me. So yeah, I do think that like, not to be too like new age about it, but it is the thing of like what we think creates what we're in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I think that like as much as I can, I try to think of like what I would like to see and not focus or fixate too much on, because it's like the horrible stuff that's happening. Obviously, like if it's happening right in front of my face, I'm going to do something about it. But fixating on stuff that's really far out of my reach, I don't think it's helping anybody. I think it's like I'd rather use the mental energy to like let me address what's right in front of me. Like if injustice or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if I'm
Yeah.
walking down the street and I see something unjust happening, like, let me intervene in that moment in real life that's right in front of me. Like, those videos of Elon Musk doing this, the salute are obviously like, what's more crazy making is the gaslighting from all the supporters of him. The gaslighting of like, oh, that's not what that.
Yeah.
Are you what?
They're like, no, he was just giving your heart out to. He was giving his heart out to everyone. It's like, no, there's other ways of doing that gesture. You don't do that gesture unless you like specifically wanted to do that. Like, he's the kind of person that was just like, yeah, this is so awesome on stage. Like, he didn't know how to handle that. He probably thought he was doing something funny, bro.
Do you think it was just a tickle of the tism?
No, I'm sorry.
And I'm not defending him by any means.
No,
but
I just, when people and hear me out, I will like literally go to fucking war over shit like that, where it's like, I'm so, because like that is disrespectful and harmful to the wonderful friends and family members I have who are on the autism spectrum. To just anytime somebody does something that is like, you know, like off color, because this isn't even off color. This is like blatantly fascist. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's just, you know, him being fascist is like doing something that's blatantly and like known as being fascist. I don't think is a symptom of autism. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's like, you know what you're doing at that point. You're on a national stage and you're doing a gesture that is associated with fascism, and you are one of the richest men in the world who is like especially knowledgeable too. Knowledgeable and so surveilled at all moments. You're so surveilled. People know, like, no, I think that argument is like disrespectful to the autism community as a whole, because it's like they're not like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, like they perceive and they are, and I can't speak for people who are autistic. I'm not autistic myself, but it's like, from what I understand, like that is something that's like, I think that's outside of the realm of excusability for that. You know what I mean? Sure. Like telling somebody
an involuntary movement.
Yeah, it's not an involuntary movement. You knew you're doing. I mean, I do think it's like, it makes me think of like stuff that's like excusable as like, oh, that's something that happened due to the autism. I think of like Amy Schumer jokes about her husband in one of her specials. Like, she would be talking shit about people and he would like say back to them what she said. Like, wasn't aware that like that was a private conversation. Don't share that with the people I was talking about. Mm-hmm. Like stuff like that. It's like social cue stuff. It's not a fascist gesture. Right. Mm-hmm. Like a fascist gesture is a fascist gesture. It's especially like if it's a gesture that would get you arrested in Germany, and like they're literally blurring out on TV in Australia because it's so offensive. You know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you know what the fuck you're doing. And anybody defending it, I just am like, that's when I just want to crash out.
Right. I'm big on conspiracies. I like a good conspiracy. That was weird because I watched that live and I was like, did that really just happen right there? That was weird. The other thing that I noticed with the inauguration, did you notice all of like the subtle Freemasonry signage and stuff? Like, you would see like people making diamond shapes with their hands and stuff like that.
Oh, that wasn't subtle.
Right, that's what I mean.
Clear as day.
Yeah, like, but a lot of it is it's weirdly. It's if you there's I mean, now that TikTok's back, there's a lot of
look into that. Yeah,
because and it's so subtle too, and it's Freemasonry. And like, if you look at even a map of DC, the map and where the streets all line out, it depicts Freemasonry signage of what is it, the scale and the right angle. There's just a lot of weird nuances like that.
Yeah.
So to see that though during was weird too, and just something seems so off about it. Even like Melania's hat, where she just like wasn't looking at anyone. I was like, that's so just like kind of cringy, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I feel like she wore that hat because she didn't want people to see her roll her eyes.
Right.
Probably.
She doesn't let Donald touch him.
There was like that moment.
I really do think that she is the dom in that
for
situation.
sure.
She's a sugar baby and a
for
dom. I think that motherfucker has to pay so much to lay a finger on her. And like that is, I feel like, and these are like, there's TikToks joking about this, but it's like, that's somebody who like sugar babied too close to the sun. Like now she has to be the fucking first lady again. And she
She didn't wanna be in
hated
the
that
first
shit.
time.
She hated that shit the first time. She hated that shit the first time. And the thing is like, I mean, she literally openly talked in her book that she put out about, I didn't read the book. Again, I saw a TikTok with the sound off and read the captions, but she like openly talked about.
You should check your facts more than TikTok. No offense.
Yeah, I mean, I love reading
It's fine,
TikTok.
It's getting banned.
I read the, but it's like she. I think from what I saw on TikTok, I did not read the book, but in her book, she talks about being pro-choice. Like I don't think her politics align with what her husband's trying to do at all, and I like I can't imagine being married to that man, but let alone like. Well, the thing is, like, if you watch old interviews of Donald Trump, he was a Republican. He's a Republican now. He was very much a New York Democrat back in the day. Like, he literally, in his old interviews, I really do think that he went as far right as he did because he knew he would be able to get what he wanted to get done with that group of people. Which is, like, I think that he, like, ultimately, at least what I gather from him is like he wants to be rich and famous without having any obligations. Which is like why be the president then? I don't understand it. It's like I think he loves the experience of feeling like a king. But like I don't know.
Well, if you want to get into conspiracies, I feel like the president doesn't really do much at all. Like they're just like puppets that their people behind the scenes really control everything, and him just signing shit on live TV is just an act. He personally probably doesn't really care, or all his policies that he's trying to push forward is just to help his like freaking company, you know, his companies or whatever.
And his friends' companies.
You know,
people
that's
behind
why
him
he's
for
got
this.
like Elon as like a person on his fucking whatever, you know.
Oh yeah.
And that's why when Biden flew off, they like pulled out the pin and just deflated. He just didn't have to keep him up anymore.
Yeah, man.
Other people pulling strings.
Stupid.
But that's in any party, though. You know.
Yeah.
That there's a higher power, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's get off politics. 'Cause
Yeah,
we're not
it's
going to
like-
be able to change any of this. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I was hoping that you could talk about your concept album. 'Cause we are
Oh
getting out of
yeah.
time, kinda wrap
We're
up,
running
but,
out of time. Wrapping it up. Okay.
Tell us about your concept album. What would you like to make with it?
Sure. So I got divorced last year, and I started working on this concept album last year, and I'm going to be wrapping it up. I'm hoping in the spring or summer of this year. But basically, the concept behind it is I wrote 5 tracks that are funny, I think, and friends who have listened think they're funny as well. But it's 5 comedy songs, and each one represents one of the 5 stages of grief. And so I'm going to be putting together like this long form music video that kind of connects each of the stages from denial to acceptance with like voicemails of like friends calling to check in and like, you know, like divorce lawyer asking for money, like ex calling to cuss me out because this, that, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm very excited to finally bring it to life in terms of like the songs are written, they're recorded, and now we're in the point of like filming the videos. And I just think it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I've always done, my creation with live shows in mind. And this is very much like going to be like a standalone, like almost like a short film project. So I'm really, really excited to get that done and get it put out. At one point in time, I don't know if I'm still going to do this, but initially I wanted to have, for the first 6 months that it's out, I wanted to build a website where you log on and it says choose a stage. And so you could watch in any order since grief isn't linear and people will grieve or they'll experience the 5 stages in any order.
That's cool.
But I don't know if I'm actually going to do that. I might just put it out as, this is what I've decided I want you to watch in this order. Just because I know people's attention spans are so short. And so I'm like, I think as the artist, I'm allowed to be like, this is the order. You have to watch it in this order. So, yeah, I am really excited about that. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a little different than anything I've ever done so far. But like, you get the same things that you've gotten with the other stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. And you said this spring you're going to be releasing weekly videos?
Yeah. So, in the spring, I'm hoping to put out these like weekly videos this is a concept I've been working on with my friend Kyrie, where basically like each week I put out a different diss track. So I diss something that annoys me. So it's like some of the ideas I have that I've been working on is like hand dryers that don't blow hard enough, or like men who troll women on the internet while wearing a hat. So I was like, yeah, that's like that stuff I'm working on. And then I think the other thing I'm really excited about, because I know we're wrapping up, is I just found out I'm going to be headlining Zany's Chicago on April 9th. So that's a Wednesday in April. That's like, I mean, I've worked towards that all this time. So that's really exciting. I'm really grateful. Yeah, I feel like that's me at least into the spring of this year, as those are the main things I'm working on, is those things.
Very cool. Well, you got a lot ahead of you right now. It's pretty terrific. It's
awesome.
To have such a resume that you have, and to have drive, even going further. It's inspiring, and even like we were talking about with your hearing loss and how that you made that doctor cry. You've faced the odds. You stood tall and you did it. It's
thank you so much.
It's something you definitely got to keep your chin up about. It's you got a bright future ahead of you, and we wish you nothing but the best here at Hawk Wins.
Thank you both so much. Thank you.
First, though, maybe.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well, before we wrap it up, is there anything any last minute things you want the audience to know? Any
I am so sorry about my lungs, and just thank you for watching, and thank you for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely, it been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you so much.
Really enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
Well, let's send it out, Jay Smooth.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Great show.
Great show. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. If you're interested in reading more about Jamie's information, we have all of her descriptions down below, including YouTube videos, a couple contact information pieces. Check out her videos. Please share it with a friend. Please share this video with a friend. And if you like what we do here at Hawk Wins, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be here every Wednesday highlighting artists of all different mediums throughout Chicagoland area, whether it be comedians or musicians or puppeteers or whoever it may be.
Or whatever, yeah.
And if you're interested in being a part of the show, please direct message us. Let us know. We'd love to get you on the show and get your art featured out there for the masses to see. At the end of the show, we always send out people with a good thing to do. I don't know if we recorded it in the beginning, but I'm going to throw it out there. My goal for everybody this week is to drive somebody home, to walk somebody home, to make sure they get home safe. At the end of the day, we're all just walking each other home. And you never know what great friendships might start from it. You never know, who can relate to you on the same spectrum. And I definitely want to make sure everybody gets home safe and that they're okay. And, and just be a good person. Above all.
Yeah, I'm going to second that notion.
Get them home safe. Wear a seatbelt. Yeah. Wear a seatbelt. Drink lots of water. Until next week, my name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
Thank you guys for watching Hawk Wins Radio Picture Show. See you guys later.